In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the perfect software demo that sells like crazy. Hey, I'm Marcus Chan, founder of Vendly Consulting Group, in which we help B2B sales pros like you blow out your sales targets, earn $250K to $500K plus, and become the elite sales pro you've dreamed of. Now, prior to this, I was in corporate sales and sales leadership, in which I hit and exceeded my quota 13 years in a row, doing 100 to 250% plus, and hit club almost every single year. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, so today I'm going to share with you 9 of my favorite tips so your demos will sell like crazy. If you stick around to the very end, I'll even share with you one super easy strategy that you can bolt onto your demos that eliminates objections before they even show up. Number 1, don't sell steaks to vegans. Here's what I mean by that. I want you to imagine you sell steaks. You sell all types of cuts, filet mignon to New York strip to whatever. And your prospect is a vegan, meaning they don't eat any meat at all. Now, you might have the best steak in the world that's world class, but if you keep trying to push all your favorite steaks onto this vegan, the chances are very unlikely they're gonna actually buy. Now, this applies to your actual software demos. And I have found, generally speaking, a lot of salespeople make the mistake, which I used to make, which is I get on the demo with them and I want to show them every feature under the sun. I want to show them literally everything underneath the hood that I think is going to blow their mind. I'm showing literally dozens of things, if not even hundreds of things, hoping one of them is going to hit home for them. Instead, what you want to do is present only what is most important and most relevant for that specific person you're talking to. And just to overclarify, it's important to them and not to you. And the reason this is important is most reps was doing basically what I was doing before, which is they hop on a demo and they're just trying to show everything, throwing spaghetti at the wall, and they're hoping something will stick and hit that will resonate for them. But the reality is the more stuff you just throw at the wall and try to pitch, the more you actually push them away. Let me give you a really simple example, because this applies to literally any type of sales process. So for example, this is over a decade ago, and I really wanted to get a new car, and I never purchased a nice car before, and I was thinking about maybe getting an Infiniti. So I went to the dealership, and I had specific goals in mind of what I actually wanted. Like for me, I just wanted a smooth, comfortable ride that was good for road trips, had plenty of space for myself, future family. I want a good stereo, I want a good storage space, and I want reliability. When I got there, the salesperson had me sit in the car, and what did they focus on? What did they show me? They focus on the luxury wood trim on the inside of the car. They show me the amazing updated UI on the center console. They show me all the features and controls within the UI. They talked about the low interest rate of financing at the dealership. They talk about even the extra rubber mats that I can add on for each of the spots inside the car and also the trunk. They talked about the tints and the clear coat and how good it would look. Now guess, did I actually buy it or did I not buy it? I definitely didn't buy it. Versus when I went to a different dealership, at a Lexus dealership, and they asked me questions to cover what I want, and I showed a specific thing that I wanted, that's all they focused on. And I walked away within a couple hours after negotiating with them with a brand new Lexus driving off the lot. So what you want to ask yourself is this before you walk into the demo. If I could present only 3 things max to them, what will move the needle the most and be the most impactful to them and solve their biggest problems? And yes, the only way that you're going to be able to answer this question is if you do an incredible discovery on the front end. You know exactly what to actually present on the demo. Because if you don't do this, you'll end up walking a demo trying to sell steaks to vegans. Also, on top of this, if you have a SE or a sales engineer who's taking care of the demo for you, presenting everything on there, this is something you must guide them in advance, prepare them before the call so they don't inundate that prospect with just information overload and product overload. If you don't prepare them, you'll end up hearing the prospect say, wow, that's a lot, let's digest this, in which we know ends up happening after that. Number 2, adapt for the audience. Most people just do a canned demo or pitch. That's why it feels insincere to that prospect. That's why it always feels the same every single time. And that's why most prospects walk away thinking that was a waste of my time. You want your demo to feel like it was custom fit for them. And that's even if you are saying virtually the same thing like 80% of the time. Because the truth is, for majority of those who have the same ICP that you're selling to, you're gonna find most of them have very similar common problems. So if you're uncovering these key things in your discovery up front, it makes it far easier to be consistent on the back end of actually presenting to them and adjusting some of the lingo you use to solve the specific problem that they're wanting to solve for. Now, a quick side note, if you have multiple buying influences who are on the call, which by the way is super normal, especially in today's time, you need to be able to adapt and present different features or parts of the solution to ensure everyone walks away having the problem solved. And again, the only way you're going to be able to do it properly is either number one, do an incredible discovery up front, but also potentially number two, if you have new players on that demo call, to do a little bit of quick discovery on the spot before you go to the demo to ensure everyone walks away seeing the value in the solution. Number three, link every feature that you present to a direct benefit and how it aligns to solving their problems and helping them achieve their core company initiatives. You want to tie into different components from like my discovery framework, the powerful framework, such as the cost of an action or opportunity cost. Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say you sell software for timesheet reporting. A poor transactional example would be saying something like, you can pull any report you want on overtime. Now here's a better one that's far more transformational. You can pull any report you want on overtime. So within 3 seconds, you can identify who consistently does overtime over any time frame, which means you can then either coach or manage performance even more effectively, which will help you make better decisions on who to keep on the team or who to remove or who needs more training, which will help you build the high performing culture you are looking to take your org to 30 million ARR. So you can see there's a drastic difference there because one, I'm just staying what the feature does, and the other, I'm not just saying what it does, but I'm literally explaining the benefits of it and how it aligns to overall initiatives in the organization. It's a small shift, but a big difference. Literally imagine if you did the same thing for every single feature you drop. And if you're not able to, that means you potentially have missed things earlier in your discovery process. Number four, make it interactive. Now, have you ever seen the eyes of a product glaze over as you go through the demo and you feel rushed to go through it? Chances are pretty good you were not interactive enough. And this is important for literally all human beings when they're going to be looking at a screen or a presentation of any sort. So, for example, think back to school. Which classes did you actually enjoy the most? You either have teacher number one, they use whiteboards, and they basically PowerPoint you to death. And then maybe they ask you some questions at the very end. Or teacher number two, who may still use the same tools, but they ask questions and make it very conversational with thought-provoking questions. Out of the two teachers, which one of them are you going to actually enjoy the most, but also retain and feel the impact from more? Now, obviously, it's going to be the second one. So what you want to think about is as you're presenting different features and you're engaging with the prospect, you want to use different questions to make it far more interactive. So here's just some simple, easy examples of prompts that you can obviously adjust based off your situation to gain their feedback and gain their insight and make it far more conversational. There are simple questions like, hey, what do you think? How do you think you'll be able to use this? Hey, what benefit do you think your team may see out of this? What benefit do you think your customer will see out of this? What do you think your boss might think about this? What are your thoughts on this? Can you see how this would solve big problem? You get my point. The key is make it interactive by asking questions that gets them to pause and respond back so you can have a deeper conversation. And again, don't be transactional with it. As they respond back, go a little bit deeper in terms of what they're saying so you can have a nice, rich conversation so they can really internalize and see themselves utilizing whatever you are selling. Number five, keep it simple. Now, if you've done even a few demos or presentations, you probably know way more than your ideal customer profile. And I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes by Leonardo da Vinci, which is, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And the smartest people in the world are able to take complex things and make it really simple so everybody can understand. It's actually very easy to make things very complicated. It's actually very hard to make things very simple. So here are a few simple tips to actually make it simpler and easier for your prospect to internalize and understand so they have a better experience on the demo. Number one, use really simple, easy language. And this applies even if you're talking to someone really technical. You might feel naturally more inclined to use more complex or bigger words, but the simpler it is, the more likely they're going to be able to understand it. And that means the messaging is far tighter as a result. So remember, fancy fails and simple scales. Number two, only show them what's most important to them. This has my product tip from before. If you feature dump and you're just trying to throw everything at the wall, the reality is you may have dozens of incredible features that you want to show them, but they might only really care about 2 or 3 things. So the more you throw at it, the more actually may cloud the actual value proposition that you're actually offering them. Number 3, use words literally like simple and easy. For instance, with one simple click, you can pull a report within seconds. It's super easy to do for anybody. Number 4, Break things into listicles if you can. So this is taking something and putting a frame around it so they can contextualize it even more. So for example, even with this video today, I broke down, I'm going to share 9 specific tips for you. So now it gives you a frame of reference as part of this training video. Now go into, say, a sales demo. You could say something like, hey, so to solve this problem, high turnover, we're going to do it in 3 simple steps. Or with our solution, here's 4 core pillars we cover as part of our service. Number 5, avoid using company acronyms that are not common industry jargon. Now, it's one thing to use industry acronyms and jargon. It's another thing to be stating things that maybe make sense for the company you work at, but outside of that world, people are confused. And because if you confuse them, you're gonna lose them. And the 6th thing is, as you're going through, you also wanna make sure you're pausing between features. This allows them to process and digest it all. Because the reality is, I made the mistake where I go on the call with them and I'm almost like a machine gun dropping like a million features. And I'm like, and now they're overwhelmed and they're like, whew, that was a lot, looks incredible. Let me process and digest it. And reality is if it's too hard from the process, that creates friction to moving to the next stage in the process. Number 6, use their language. As you're doing your discovery, you should be taking note of specific vernacular or wording they are using. This is from the problems they're running into, the emotions they're feeling, to the challenges they're running into, because you want to utilize that language as part of your demo. So I want you to imagine if you are a big golfer and you've golfed your whole life. When you meet a completely brand new stranger who's also a big golfer and they golf for a long time, you are probably on a very common lingo and language you're going to share, and you're going to build a bond really quickly as a result. You just naturally trust them more because you're already talking about the same thing. This is no different in sales. So if you want to come to a specific lingo or language they're using, you want to incorporate that through your whole demo, through your whole discovery, because this will help build the trust closer to them, between you and them. So for example, even when I mentioned before, when you are going to be presenting the demo to them and you also want to make it feel customized to them, even if you're basically saying the same thing majority of the time, 80% of the time, you want to customize it based off their language patterns and the words they're using, especially if they have internal lingo dialect from their company to describe their pains, their problems, their issues. Because what happens is it's subconsciously shows that you are listening to them and helps build trust between you two. Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say you sell some sort of software for managing accounts receivable. So earlier you had said that since the AR tracking process was so manual, it was stressing you out as you were dependent on your AR clerk to do it properly, and you were worried about losing track of payments. Is that right? Here's how we can get rid of that problem. Notice some of the language I'm using there. I'm using terminology they're using. I'm using some of the emotional language as well. This makes it a far more powerful connection that you actually understand, and it feels far less canned. Number 7. Prove it. This is the one where I see a majority of people completely miss this. They get so stuck in the feature dump, they don't realize that every buyer is really skeptical of them. So because of that, you want to make sure you are proving everything you're talking about, especially if you're making big, bold claims to solve whatever issues you're already into. So you want to imagine that you are guilty until proven innocent, meaning you got to prove everything and back it up. This leads to a more influential argument and business case for your solution. And you can do this through many different ways, such as telling very specific and relevant stories, sharing, discussing very specific case studies that's relevant to them and their use case, discussing different testimonials of happy customers just like them. This could be research findings. This could be third-party sources. You could physically show and demo it in a live environment, not just like a fake demo deck. You get my point. Ultimately, you want to leave zero doubt and remove uncertainty in their mind that you can solve their problems and help them achieve the desired results they're looking for. And the truth is, the right prospects will pay far more for certainty. And let me give you a really simple example from my own personal life. Over a decade ago, I used to have to wear glasses because I'm pretty much used to be blind as a bat. So these huge thick glasses, and I wanted to get LASIK. And I went to one doctor and it was around $5,000, which was around the going market rate. But then there was also this other place that was about $2,000. Now, this company that was doing for $5,000 had only thousands of reviews, had been around for like 20 years, and they already started using technology early on, and they had so many success stories and been for so long. They opened multiple locations, and the doctors themselves had a lot of experience, a lot of results, and a lot of happy customers. And that was the one that they're charging $5K for. This other one I found was $2K, and they had just opened that year. They didn't really have any reviews. I couldn't really find out much about the doctor. And all I really had was just a couple of reviews I found on Google for them, which were decent reviews, but that was it. Now, for me personally, I don't know about you, but I really wanted to make sure whoever did my eyes, they got it right the first time. I definitely did not want to go blind and want to make sure it was done right. So I happily paid over double that amount for certainty, to go with the right professional who had the backing, the history, and the results to get my eyes done. And if you sell a high price solution, which you cost more than competition, this is one of those steps where I find many people completely miss until the very end when the customer is asking for references or talking to, different customers, etc. The key is you want to start doing this up front as part of your process, through the stories you tell, through the cases, through the examples like I mentioned, early on, especially part of the demo. So when they get down the demo, they're already certain your solution's amazing, they can trust it, and it's the best possible solution already out there. Number 8, make it smooth. Now, this is something I don't see too many people ever really talk about, but how does your demo feel? If you were outside looking in, is it choppy, clunky, awkward as you try to navigate multiple stakeholders and it's clunky pulling up your screen, you're not sharing the right things, you're kind of going back and forth, you're clunky with your SE? And the unfortunate part is I review a lot of demos and I see a lot of that, unfortunately. So think, does that really create trust in their mind? And I think about it, it's like a movie. If you watch a low quality, low budget movie, you can almost tell by the cinematography, by the acting, and by how things are flowing through the quality movie. Versus something that has a higher budget or better director, you can feel the drastic difference in the experience on there. So if it's clunky and awkward, the movie, your reviewer, your receiver, the product, they're going to feel that. But if it's smooth and clean and professional and things just seem to work in sync, they're going to feel that too. It's going to increase their trust with you. What you want to think about is when you're running the demo, whether it's yourself or with an SC, does it seem like you've been doing this for 3, 5, 10 years plus? Or does it seem like you're still trying to figure it out and you're just trying to get your bearings still? And here's the thing. To actually make it really smooth, it's not complex at all. All you really need to do is prepare and control everything that you can and then practice it. So for example, if you are doing demos with your SC and there's a handoff, practice it with them. Literally go on to Zoom with them together and just act as if you're doing it live and practice with them. And practice makes perfect. Do it over and over until it's seamless in muscle memory. What you don't want to do is be clunky and weird on there, because ultimately at the end of the day, the smoother you are, the better the experience you create for them, the more they're going to remember that experience. But the reality is if it's clunky, it's weird, it's awkward, you're not able to pull stuff up properly, you're like, you can't, where's this deck? Hold on one second. They're going to feel that as well. It's going to cause them to lose trust in you. And reality is we as salespeople walk on the calls, we're already at a disadvantage where most buyers don't trust us. So what we want to do is prove them wrong by controlling what we can't control, like these past tips I've already shared so far. Number 9, remove objections. Here's a really cool part. If you have done demos for a while, you're going to find majority of people have the same consistent objections up front. And if you know it to be the case, you can actually build into your demo or into your discovery ways to actually remove the objection before it even shows up. Or at the very least, it helps them mentally get warmed up to whatever objection they might have and help minimize the actual impact instead of at the very end. So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say, for example, a common problem is going to be low user adoption after someone gets brought on board. And it's a common concern because the company doesn't want to invest into software and have nobody using it and waste everyone's time. So what could you do on the front end as part of your demo to help eliminate that objection before it actually happens? Bring it up. For example, let's just say your company has a great onboarding process and great backend support. So as part of your demo, you could say, hey, sometimes what people are a little bit concerned about is they're worried about low user adoption. So that's actually why we are proactive in our approach. And let me walk you through the onboarding process step by step and the backend support, which helps us increase adoption drastically, which will help you get the ROI you're looking for. Or maybe if another concern is they're unsure if the integrations will will work with their tech stack. The cool part is you just simply ask those questions up front about what integrations they require early on in your process in the discovery phase, and then present the integrations on the actual demo. Or maybe they're unsure if your startup could handle their enterprise account and their needs because they're a huge organization. Before you get to the end, as part of your demo, show very specific case studies and stories of similar sized businesses that partner up and their incredible results they actually got. And again, when you do these proactively, you will actually minimize, if not eliminate, objections before they show up at the very end. And you want to think about objections at every single level. In this way, you can upfront deal with them, because let's say, for example, if you're presenting to a champion and you know you have to get maybe a C-level exec involved, and you know C-level exec has certain concerns, you deal with it upfront in the discovery, in the demo, so that way, if the objection shows up later, it's far easier for them to overcome, and your champion's actually armed to actually solve this objection before it gets too big of a deal and actually stalls your process out. So there you have it, 9 super simple tips to help your demos sell like crazy. By implementing these 9 tips exceptionally well, you'll see your close rate skyrocket. Now, if you want our help to help you crush your sales demos, head below and book a call with my team to see if it's a good fit for our coaching programs. And if you want to see the exact sales methodology for a powerful discovery process that leads to a 40% plus win rate, I'll see you in the next video right here.